Motherhood's out of control. So, like, what are you doing to prevent any of that? Nothing. Nothing. Tell me what? What?
Okay, thank you. You said things that people have known for the past 45 years, but I
didn't answer
appreciate
the
that.
question.
Hold on for a second. Thank you for contributing to a common conversation that people know, but you offer no other solution. That's great.
Not to not to go on the coach, but I think the solution is more marriages.
You want to go, in order for your marriage to work, they have to be white, Christian.
They don't have to be white.
Make money.
No.
And then also probably live in a certain region.
If it's the
now,
case.
Now, what if that's not the case? Because in the United States, I don't know where you live, but, you know, in the caves
Then
and
we use
hills
the
of the United
apparatuses.
if you take the rest of the United States, they're highly not that. That is outside of those demographics.
And don't
so
you want
what
to
if
change
they're,
that?
What if they're outside of that?
Don't
What
you
if they're
wanna-
not white
don't-
and Christian?
don't you wanna
What if
change
they're
that?
not Christian to make 100K? What do you suggest then?
Yeah, so here's what I would suggest.
So this debate is about marriage, and it took a really interesting turn where rather than just talking about marriage, the coach brought up black marriages. And he's pointing to the point that Andrew Wilson, which is the guy in the black cap, the Caucasian male, said that marriage is very important and that especially Christian marriages are important. And the coach said, well, what if they're not white and what if they are black? Should they still get married? Stuff like that. So now they're about to talk about black culture and its relevance to marriage. Please make sure you like and subscribe. Let's get right into this.
If it's the case that in the black community you have more divorces than in the white community, there's going to be contributing factors for why that is. I don't think that like black people are just ontologically different than white people. Do you? Do you just believe like that at their core they're just ontologically different, or do you think that they're the same? Because if that's the case, if we're equal people and equal people groups, then there must be some other social factors which are relating to this that increase the divorce rate in the black community that doesn't exist yet in the white community. If that's the case, we would specifically target those issues to prevent that from happening, right? We're going to do this across. We're going to do this across the board. Well,
okay, what would they be?
For the black community, there's a bunch. One, you have a distinction in economic certitude. The second one is you got a massive abortion rate, which is super problematic. Another one is you use matriarchal structures in the family home instead of patriarchal. Huge issue that you have. By the way, when it was Christian-based, it didn't happen. It was a patriarchal structure inside those black homes. And boy, they didn't put up with shit. Not the case anymore. So you have multiple factors here which need to be addressed. I agree with that. Nobody ever disagreed with that, though. What we're trying to do is look at the mitigation of risk. And even for the black community,
we handled that already.
If the black community moves in to these conventionally traditional churches, they still will have the same ecclesiastical authority, which will assist them in governing their marriage that white people would have, and it would still assist with the mitigation of risk. What's the alternative? It's just degeneracy, right? The alternative is just like, well, just hump them and never get married. Well, what good does that do for blacks? What good does that do? It just leads to more abortion. It just leads to more degeneracy. It leads to high crime rates, and the single motherhood's out of control. So, like, what are you doing to prevent any of that? Nothing. Nothing. Tell me what? What?
Okay, thank you. You said things that people have known for the past 45 years, but I
didn't answer the
appreciate that.
question.
Hold on for a second. Thank you for contributing to a common conversation that people know, but you offer no other solution. That's great. Now, here's a problem. Here's a problem with this.
Not to not to go on the coach, but I think the solution is more marriages. Andrew Wilson tends to be more conservative, where he specifically specifies Christian marriages in the black community, but his argument was pointing towards more marriages and basically more two-parent households within the African American or full black American community. And that will decrease low test scores in schools, that will decrease poverty, which it will literally decrease because when you get married, you're almost doubling your income in majority of cases. So it will decrease those things. That was the solution. I'm a little confused why the coach is confused, but let's continue.
It's an if scenario. That would be great if we can go back to this. It would be great if we can go back and look at and say that blacks, when they were in the 40s and 50s, they had more stable relationships and marriages than even white folks. Here's the issue.
Okay.
Why stop at the 40s? Let's talk about 1863.
Okay.
Your tradition seems to always hit this point of 1940s where you shine this light of traditionalism that you've never lived in, that seems to be in a snapshot of something that you don't even know about. Then when I fast
You're not
forward
even
20
saying anything, dude.
again, you're not listening. When I fast forward to 1970, when it falls all apart with no fault divorce, based on what I've been arguing, what happens? All that traditionalism falls apart. Why don't we take it further? Why don't we take it back to bride prices? I mean, how far in tradition you're going to go? You're only going to bang your head around 1940 and 50 because you watched a couple of movies and I Love Lucy episodes? That's not tradition.
Okay.
That was a snapshot in history that you're trying to achieve again.
So
take it back further. There's no marriages in the black community.
Let's say take it. Let's say we take it all the way back to the 1700s. Let's just say, just for the sake of it, right? And that I'm totally wrong about all this, just for the sake of argument. Let's just say, what is your prescription to deal with any of those issues when you're telling men in the black community to not get married? How is that going to assist with abortion? How's that going to assist with strong fathers in the home? How's that going to assist with the only demographic population which can't reproduce itself? How? Can you give me a single prescription to any of that?
Let me tell you something. I agree with you on this.
I just want a prescription, dude.
Here's the problem. I agree with you. And listen, if you had any ability to provide this prescription better than Louis Farrakhan or Martin Luther King,
does that mean no?
Give me a second. Listen to me. These men have tried to pretty much heal this issue, and they haven't.
No, they didn't.
Andrew Wilson certainly not to. Neither will CGA. So I don't have a prescription for the black community because the black community is pretty much doomed at this particular point. They have too much degeneracy. They have single mother rates at the 70 and 80%. But I'm going to tell you something. You want to come in here and tell me something about ecclesiastics, and you're telling me about the reality of the black community, how to fix it. Nobody's been able to fix that community. So there's nothing you can do, and I can't offer any solution for that. Now, at that particular point, you're saying the risk is higher. It certainly will be higher under those matriarchal conditions. So you get no argument from me there. So at that point, where's your statistics lie then?
Well,
where's your solution then?
I'll tell you again. So I'm glad
he's going to solve the community problems here. I'd love to hear this.
Listen again. I'm not saying
the black community problem solved by Andrew Wilson.
That says the guy who literally just got done saying, I have zero prescriptions.
Because nobody does. That community is here. But I would love to hear the black community solved by Andrew Wilson.
Yeah, so let me tell you a bunch of things that can be done which will help mitigate these issues.
Please do.
The first is
that you can accomplish, not some pipe dream.
That can be accomplished.
Okay, so CGA, I think that's his name, is very nihilistic and borderline pessimistic when it comes to the black community. And one thing I want to notice is that he separates himself. He says they do this, they do that. If you are a black American and you prescribe to black cultural things, you are, in my opinion, or just I think in reality, objectively a part of the black community. Nonetheless, Andrew Wilson is giving solutions to the black community. You said there's no prescription for things that are happening in the black community, such as low marital rates, low educational rates, or vocational rates, or trades, or anything along those lines, or education. I think I said education. Just low rates, all the good lows. There's a lot of low rates. You said there's no prescription, but he's giving a prescription. He's saying get married, stay with your kids, raise your kids, be with your wife, be with your husband, have one strong household. Those are prescriptions. Whether or not a community chooses to follow those prescriptions, that's a completely different story. But it doesn't negate the fact that Andrew Wilson is pushing these things to be done. Whether or not he's pushing it under the Christian playing field, which is his right to do. If he's a Christian, it makes sense. He's still pushing these beliefs, and him pushing it is not a negative thing. Him saying this is not hurting anything, and it's actually helping. Somebody will probably get something from this video they didn't get before, even if it's one person or two people. But just telling him not to say anything, and that him saying Christian marriages are bad or Christian marriages are good is hurting the black community. I don't understand where he's coming from with that. But let's continue.
Here we go.
That can be accomplished politically, and already are beginning to be accomplished politically. The first is you have to outlaw abortion. You have to. It has to be outlawed. And not by state where you can just go to the next state and do another abortion, right? One of the biggest problems with promiscuity in the black community is that they use abortion as a form of birth control. Same problem that you see in the white community, by the way. It's just more prevalent in the black community. The next problem that you have there is the lack of religiosity, where there used to be a really strong core religious base of based black men. And they were patriarchal, very patriarchal. And the thing is that It's the idea of these feminist bra-burning lunatics that told black women not to be under the evil patriarchy of their men. And yet, at this point, the men are rolling over and allowing the matriarchy to take over in their own community. Is a return to traditional church ethics going to assist that? Of course it will. Of course it will. How do I know? Because it did then, just a few short years ago. I'm not talking about hundreds of years ago. I'm talking about 60 years ago. By the way, there's other things that you can do too. Getting rid of EBT, getting rid of social programs which are designed to keep people dependent. These are all things which can be politically accomplished. Just like abortion, the starting of banning that was politically accomplished in our lifetime. And the thing is like, you have no prescriptions. Fuck, at least I'm trying here, man.
Man, Andrew, you are Captain Obvious. This is the
Well, then
obvious
why didn't you obviously state it as a prescription?
Because people have exhausted the means to be able to do this. Trust me, there have been people way better than you that dress better than you and shave their beard better than you that can do this, and they haven't been able to accomplish it. You have the Democratic Party that is highly influential. 92% of black women voted for Democrats. That's also possibly where most of those women go to church. Most of black churches are overwhelmingly women. It's a woman's club, and you're telling me about something completely obvious that everybody has pointed out for 25 years. You're not giving me anything new. This is a completely obvious scenario, and you believe that you've enlightened me over here?
Well, he probably should have enlightened you because most solutions are pretty obvious. For example, if you go to somebody who's 100 pounds overweight, the obvious solution would be to eat less food and work out. Those are very obvious things. But just because something is obvious doesn't mean that it's wrong. Andrew Wilson, although it may be obvious to you, doesn't mean that his solution is inaccurate. It can still be an accurate solution. I do get what you're saying. You're saying that you're saying things that have already tried to be done before and they failed. But here's the thing. I also want to touch on what he says too. But here's the thing, just because they've tried to get done before and they haven't been completely done, such as getting rid of EBT, doesn't mean there's no solutions in that still to this day. Because nothing is done until it is done. There are new things being done every day, such as OpenAI that was created. It didn't just exist at the dawn of time. The idea existed, but the actual thing didn't exist until it did exist. So these things can still happen. And the more awareness you bring to something, the higher likelihood it will actually happen. Also, here's what I'll say. When it comes to getting rid of government benefits, I don't think that's a good idea unless there is an alternative to government benefits, because that entire idea of getting rid of it is under the premise that these people are not, for one, children, or for two, elderly, and or three, disabled. There are people who are children and disabled who literally cannot work. If you're like, there are 5-year-olds who depend on EBT, 4-year-olds who depend on this. So if you just get rid of it, it could be a good idea if there is something in place, if there's jobs that you can apply for. But the statistics show that today, 2025, it takes the average college graduate, 200 applications to get a job in their specific field. Not saying that they didn't pick the wrong degree, that's just the average numbers. But these numbers do indicate one thing, that the job market in 2025 right now is not a perfect job market where you can just literally get up and get a job that's relevant to your student loan debt. That's just one example. Not even pointing at mass layoffs. Some of the biggest companies to this date have fired thousands of employees. Look at Microsoft, look at Meta, look at Amazon. They've actively had to lay off employees right now. So if the economy was in the position where people could go out and literally get a wage like today, and they like could provide for their children, then you could talk about rolling back. But right now, some people, which are children and disabled people, depend on these things. But let me know what you guys think. I'm going to end the video here. I think Andrew Wilson actually did pose an interesting point of view. Let me know what you thought about CGA. My name is Elfar Jojo.